My presentation is not as snazzy as Gavin's, so you can pretend that I've got animations happening and stuff like that to make you feel less inadequate. That'd be great. So I'm from Createur. Createur is 6 years old. We've got 10 people working on Shopify. We've got another 7 people who work on products. So that growth has been kind of really up and down over the last 6 years, and now it's been really exciting for us. So yeah, we're really happy to be here and show us some really interesting things about advanced search. So we're talking about one of the common criticisms we come across is that Shopify search sometimes by default is relatively rudimentary. It doesn't expand over other areas of the Shopify interface. Jason mentioned that meta fields aren't exposed, and that's a common question we get. How do we get more data into your search results, and how do we feed that in and get the right things? So firstly, why use advanced search? Usually it's faster. You can do things like Elasticsearch, Ajax results. You don't have to refresh the page necessarily. They're often more relevant. If you're using an Elasticsearch provider, then they will give you fuzzy search options, synonym search, ability to match against, you might have thought, those kinds of options. Better merchandising. You can feed alternative items in between your search results. If someone searches for a certain thing and you're running a promo that goes along with that, you can inject banners and things like that along with that to give relevance and to potentially even do partnerships with other, with brands that you're running, that they can say, okay, elevate my product, we'll give you a cheaper product price on that product, as an example. Better analytics. It'll tell you what people are searching for, how often, what synonyms they're using, and how often they match the suggestions that you're giving them. Faster and higher conversions. So it works heaps faster, the conversions come faster, and we've noticed across the board much increased conversion rates when using advanced search. And better user experience. The more advanced your product line is, and I'll be showing you a couple of examples of people who have very large product catalogues or very refined technical product catalogues, and they need very specific ways to search for those things. They've got a captive audience, and that audience wants to find things a very specific way. This is a recent launch for us, Cracker Wines, top 100 retailer in Australia, very competitive in the wine space, and we use SearchSpring for this one. So we've got a few search providers that people probably have heard about. SearchSpring is the one that we've used, and the examples we'll show you here. Also, we've got an example from Algolia. They have a great API as well. Instant Search Plus is probably one you've heard about. Nextopia. There's quite a few of them out there. Different results, different pricing, different levels of service. In this case, we're using SearchSpring. We found them to be the most helpful when it comes to getting something rapidly to market. They've got developers who actually help you implement these things. So if you don't necessarily have a big enough team to get things done, they will help you design some of your search views, or even just help, even if you can do it, they'll be another resource that you can get to help you out. So first step we're looking at is autocomplete. Imagine this zipping down and that sort of stuff. But basically, you've probably seen this on a lot of sites. You start typing, and here are my suggestions. In this case, you can see there's some examples here. It'll bring in, by default, it sorts by relevance. You can set this up in panels to say sort by savings. So you can see here, their default, as you can see, is savings are relatively mildly distributed here, but what they've got in the background here is the most popular products, not necessarily the cheapest. So what they want is for people to, when they start typing Shiraz, there's no point showing a Shiraz that gets bought once every 2 months. They want to show the Shiraz that lots of people are buying. So they bump those up to the top of the results, because most likely you want to buy what other people are buying. That's just generally what people do. So we can see here that that's what they're doing. Then you've got suggestions. So obviously Shiraz is pretty obvious, but then what we're doing is, based on user data, we're actually showing when someone types Shiraz, Google does this for you as well, of course, and you get some pretty funny results from Google when you start typing things. But they do the same thing. They say, when people have typed Shiraz, generally the next thing they type is this, so there, and show that. Not only that, we can see here, it's pretty smart. It's not just showing Shiraz then something, it actually shows someone search for sparkling Shiraz quite often, and it can put them in different areas for you, Shiraz Rosé as well. One of the suggestions we have for autocomplete search, and you'll see some people do this, they put lots of data in there. Our suggestion is to actually remove the clutter, so you can see that what we've got is just the stuff that people care about, little picture, what I'm looking for, how much it is, and how much I'm saving. People are very price sensitive about wine as well, so when you're looking at competitive searches, we only give you the data that you're interested in straight away. And obsess about relevance. You know, you're always going to give people the most relevant searches, so you're using analytics to give them better results, boost those results, use your admin panel, look at misspellings and people are looking for, and that's where it comes to refining the synonyms. One of the best things that we find, a good product example that we don't have there, but Tamburlaine is a popular winery, and people spell it wrong every single time. Like, it's one of the biggest misspelled things that we find, and we were able to see that and catch that within 2 days. We were seeing people do the wrong thing there, and we immediately added a synonym with just swapped an O for an A, and suddenly that was the first thing that they saw. Even when they did the misspelling, boom, it came up to the top, which was really, really handy for those people. Absolutely, it increased conversions by 200% for Tamburlaine. People were just bouncing from that page because they thought they didn't stock Tamburlaine, and they were like, what am I going to do? Suddenly, they're buying that product when they never would have bought it before. And then you analyse the data. This is where that comes in. Always be looking at your synonyms, what are people searching for, and refine. And then modify the results. Filters. So, sort of can't really see that there, but advanced filtering, you can see that this goes all the way down the page, but you can see some of the UI features that we've got in here for people. You can really enhance the ability to refine this search. I'm going straight into results for Shiraz, and I'm looking at wines for sale here, but then, you know, I've got a budget. I can now start entering that manually, submitting that. I can slide those sliders in and squeeze that price wherever I want to. I can look at highly rated wines only. I don't know why no one would want to look for a low rated wine, but the option's there for you. And some of the suggestions to get these filters right are, you know, use existing data if you've got it, bring that across. Survey the customers about what searches they want to do and how they want to refine things. Don't just mash a bunch of, you see this on a lot of fashion sites actually, they just mash a whole bunch of filters on there that, you know, people are used to seeing that airplane cockpit kind of view and they think that you want it, but then after a while, only 3 or 4 of those filters are used. So we do that quite regularly. We monitor the sort of filters that people are using, and we actually ditch the filters that they stop using. That's really important, because the more choice you give people, the less they make, and especially if it's the choices they don't want, they won't make them. Sort order is another important thing. Setting a default order, and it varies by collection. You don't always want the same sort order. So someone who's in a premium collection, for example, is less price sensitive. So you don't want to go from low to high there, you want to go by best rating. Then you land on a daily deals page, you do want to order by best value, for example, because if you're on a deals page, you're looking for the best value. So the default sort order is really important. You can also do that with advanced search. In this case, because it's a search page, when I'm looking for Shiraz, my default sort is best match because I want relevance. That's my most important part here, so I've set that here. Then boosting results. So we mentioned that earlier as well, but that's important in these areas too, is if you've got wines that you want to get rid of, you've got too many of them, they're still popular, but you know, you've got to clear the stock to make room for new ones. You boost them up to the top so that they see them first, you can clear that set, and then, you know, promote something else later on. One of the really valuable things we did here, which is quite rare, we get that a lot, and it's hard to do with any other way, is push down the results that you don't want out of stock is a good example. You know, you can hide that in your liquid templates, but with advanced search, you can immediately rejig that in. This is all Ajax, by the way. This is using an Angular template at the front, so everything contained in this is instantly updated. Again, I wish I had animations now. I'm feeling so inadequate. But basically, you can see here that this is a product that we would normally want to push right down to the bottom. and then we sort of run searches on that as well and make sure that sold out products aren't there. Another decision you'll want to make is and or. Do you want to, are those options inclusive or available? So you want to say, I want to see anything that's a mixed case or between these prices, or do I want to make sure that that's an important consideration as well, because you've got to work out what your customers are expecting there. You can't put instructions there. You can't say, this is how we do things. We use an and or an or algorithm. They're like, okay, what are you doing? So we want to assume what our customers are going to want to do there. And in this case, we tended to find that these guys are looking for and results. They want this and this and this. In other situations, fashion's a good example. They tend to want to look for or sometimes. They'll sort of like, well, I'd like, jeans or pants. I'm okay with either. So you've got to decide on your customer based on what you're going to do with those filters. And then allow easy toggling of selection. So I did mention that this is all Ajax. You don't want this refreshing every time they choose an option. That's really annoying. You don't want to go bang and then have the whole thing load again. So every time they select something, this just dynamically updates in situ. And make good use of the UI elements. You can see there we've made it really obvious that you've got drag handles there. You can expand and collapse. Those chevrons make it obvious when something's open or closed, or that you can do that. So making that really obvious to people is valuable there too. Another thing, so these guys have got an enormous wine library. So they've got 50,000 plus products. A good number of those products are library products. To give you some background, Cracker Wines basically dominated the SEO space for wine for a very long time. If you search for any random wine, their results would be at the top for that. The frustrating thing they find, and this actually worked against them funnily enough, like at first you'd think, oh great, like we're getting all great results from people, they're landing at us. Problem was they were so successful is that a lot of those products weren't even for sale. They were just library products that they actually just put into their database and sort of said, this is about the wine. People would get there and go, okay, now I want to buy it. They couldn't, so that was really frustrating. So here we've made that super clear. One of the big changes we made was wines for sale versus wine library. By default, you want to look for wines for sale. That's the most important thing. But if you're a wine aficionado and you go, well, actually, tell me about things that match my search, but I want to learn about them, all of these products are clearly labelled as they're reviewed only. So you can't buy them, there's no pricing, the UI elements are different, and the filters are different. So I'm not filtering by price here because I can't buy them. I'm much more interested in the rating of that wine. How popular, how good, how high quality. And then that gives me a lead in to say, when I go to one of those products, it actually says what products are like this that you can buy. And that has dramatically increased their conversions. People aren't bouncing anymore. They're going, I like this wine, you don't have it, what do you have? So separating those results are really useful for them. And then indexing that at that level is something that only advanced search can do. You can't do that with that 50,000 products. It's too hard to search in a reload and have these long pages and paginate all the way through. Excuse me. This is an example of a really highly technical client. Their customers tend to know what they want. So these guys do, they're actually the biggest supplier in the world of aftermarket medical parts. So when someone goes to GE Healthcare and their ECG monitor breaks, they can do a couple of things. They can buy it from GE Healthcare for $500, or they can buy it from these guys for $130. So they do these aftermarket, high quality, plug and play parts, but they're very different. So no random person's going to go there and go, oh, I need an ECG cable. That's great. So these people know exactly what they want, and that's why we've got this little configurator right on the home page where they can go, oh, I know what I want. I want SPO2, I want it from this manufacturer, and then it'll automatically populate the model, and then I can search, and that takes me straight to what I want right from the home page. I could type it up the top if I knew the SKU, but those SKUs are so convoluted that often people don't know that. What they do know is, I use Corometrics. That's the brand on my monitor. So I use Corometrics. It's an SPO2 monitor, Corometrics, and the model I've got, that's easy to sort of look up. I've already got most of the way there. I can just hit search and it takes me there. So then we've got a similar, just wanted to sort of show you the different autocomplete here. This is also Search Spring, and you can see here that once again we've got those results. These are slightly different. They're less price sensitive. It's not as important. They're not comparing prices here. They don't really have a choice. Once they look at their product, that's how much it costs. So they don't even bother showing the prices here until you get to the page. But what they do care about is a part number. If they're reordering, they're going, oh, yep, that's the one I want, and it's the most relevant. And then what are the SPO2 types of things that I want to buy? Sensors, extension cables, ear clips. Again, the most popular things that those specialised clients will buy, they're shown at the top there. So this is the airplane cockpit of filters right here. You saw Cracker was pretty accurate to what their clients want. You can see how different this is, and it's not that sort of drop downs and a whole bunch of things. These guys are looking for category, subcategory, and then same as here you can see, so their part numbers are different to the OEM part numbers. When you're doing aftermarket parts, people aren't looking for your part numbers. They don't know or care what you're selling. They only care what pre-market part they're looking for. So that's where you can actually enter the OEM part number, which is the people that you're used to buying from, and what matches that. So they've got a huge synonym engine there, which matches their OEM part number to the actual part number that they use internally. And slowly they're actually trying to retrain their customers to use their part numbers. It's very ingenious. So what they're actually doing here is going, this is the part number that you're used to buying, and we'll tell you what our part number is. Now you're going to remember that, and instead of going back to GE anymore, you're not going to care about that. Now you're talking about cables and sensors products. Same, those manufacturer and model, they're dependent on each other. So once you hit a manufacturer, it only shows models available within that manufacturer. You've probably seen that with sizes and colours and stuff like that. That's just a more advanced version. Then you go even deeper, where you've got technologies. So these are the technologies that those connections use. So once you've chosen one of those, it's showing only direct connect SPO2 sensors. And then from here, I can go straight into things like manufacturers and technologies that those sensors use. So this is finally an example. I just thought I'd sort of throw this in there, that it's not all about the most expensive solution. SearchSpring is probably one of the most expensive ones out there. You can see why. It's super full featured. If you're just starting out, Algolia is great. The free Algolia app, this is Nordic Furniture. They couldn't afford SearchSpring, but they did want Autocomplete Search. This took us about half a day to set up. A couple of hours, a little bit of styling, some CSS customization, and this already increased their conversions by a really dramatic amount just by doing this. So I highly recommend installing something right now. If you're not using this, throw in a free Algolia app, get it working. This will increase, like for any clients you're dealing with or any stores that you're running, this will immediately increase your conversions, guaranteed. We've been finding increases in conversion rates of anywhere sort of between from sort of something like 2% across the board up to 4 and 5% by using search. A good example is Cracker Wines. They had relatively rudimentary search. Now that they've gone live, 35% of every single purchase has used search. So that's a really interesting number. 35, like a third of their customers haven't clicked through collections. They've actually searched for something first, straight from the search bar. It's really, so it shows you how valuable it is. You can email me any of these questions. I'll be here for the Q&A. So hopefully that's been super helpful for you.